In our recent video about the evolution of humans in Africa, we got a bunch of comments saying, wait, hold on, didn't humans evolve in Europe? Or more specifically, didn't humans evolve in Greece? Well, no, we did not. Hi, it's me and welcome to this channel. While there is evidence that our species, Homo sapiens, originated in Africa, new research now suggests that modern humans actually stopped evolving around 12,000 years ago, at least in regards to one very important trait. You see, the human brain has gotten bigger over the course of our evolution, with some researchers suggesting that increases in brain size are linked to our increased intelligence. But according to a study published last week in the journal PNAS, humans may have stopped getting smarter 12,000 years ago when our brains stopped growing. To figure out when exactly our smarts may have stopped increasing, researchers measured the cranial capacity, or the volume of the brain case of 43 individuals from across the world. The sample included fossils and more recent human remains from as far back as 80,000 years ago, up until about 12,000 years ago. They also gathered data on the average temperature in the areas where these individuals were found during the time they lived to see if climate change affected brain size, because warmer climates tend to mean less need for a large brain. The researchers found that cranial capacity increased from a low of about 950 cubic centimeters in Africa 80,000 years ago to a high of about 1,350 cubic centimeters in Europe around 30,000 years ago. After that, they found that the trend reverses, with cranial capacity decreasing to about 1,250 cubic centimeters in Europe and 1,000 cubic centimeters in Africa by 12,000 years ago. So even though humans reached their peak brain size somewhere around 30,000 years ago, there is no evidence that it continued to increase after that point. In fact, there's some evidence that it started to decrease. What's more, they found no correlation between temperature and cranial capacity, which means that the change in brain size was probably driven by something else like natural selection. But what could have caused this change? The authors can only speculate, but they suggest that the end of the last ice age might have something to do with it. You see, as the climate warmed, there would have been a lot of environmental changes. And so maybe the larger brains that developed during the colder, more stable ice age were not necessarily advantageous in a rapidly changing world. Maybe smaller brains required less energy to run, freeing up energy for other things like growing bigger muscles. That seems kind of plausible, but it's hard to say without more evidence. So is this the end of human evolution? Well, not necessarily. This study only looked at cranial capacity as an indicator of intelligence, but intelligence isn't the only thing that matters for evolution. Remember, natural selection acts on traits that affect an organism's ability to survive and reproduce. So even if our intelligence stopped increasing, evolution will still act on other traits that help us survive in a changing environment. In fact, humans are still evolving. We know this because we keep finding evidence of recent natural selection, including evidence of genes that help us resist diseases, and even genes that affect our response to being bitten by mosquitoes. And while this study found that human brains haven't gotten any bigger recently, a 2018 study found that the brains of modern humans are actually more densely packed with neurons than the brains of our ancestors were, meaning we really have been getting smarter, just not necessarily in the way you might expect. In any case, while you won't find the origin of humans in Greece, you will find ancient human remains in Greece. And you can explore those with the help of a digital technology called 3D scanning. This technology has allowed researchers to digitally reconstruct ancient skulls so that they can learn more about extinct species and populations. And you can try it for yourself. Thanks for watching and learning with us.